think they got the answers. I changed the questions.
Good old Roddy Piper back in the day. That was from the very, very first Piper's Pitch, you know that?
Yeah.
Back in 1984, when he said, when I give the answers, or when you get the answers, I change the questions. The classic quotes. So anyway, as we mentioned on our Facebook page this week, so what we're going to do is just going to add, ask a random question. We're not going to do this every show because sometimes we don't have the time covering whatever shows come up. In this case, we have time this week.
Probably next week, covering OTT.
Yeah, that's the thing. So we can't guarantee we're going to do this all the show, but when we do, we just want to ask. We want to get you, the listeners, involved and ask for your opinions on this. And we thought because of the back of Battleground, which we both agree was one of the worst pay-per-views we've both seen.
Yeah.
We're going to ask what is the best and worst pro wrestling pay-per-views we ever seen. Now we got a lot of fantastic responses. A huge shout out to the Irish Wrestling Forum, Wrestle Nation Forum, and Major League Pro Wrestling Forum on Facebook for allowing us to post their questions on this, and we got some fantastic responses. First of all, for ourselves now personally, what would your be best and worst be at the moment?
Best and worst. Well, worst. I didn't want to say Battleground because it's too obvious.
Well, we can't. No, we can't because it was recent.
I know. I wanted to pick something else though. So, my worst is actually a recent one as well.
Okay.
It's actually WrestleMania 32.
Oh, I agree with you. I completely agree with you because the hype for it was so big and it did not deliver in a lot of the matches.
Exactly. I just thought it was really, really poor. I think the only decent match in the card was obviously the women's triple threat. But just looking the main event,
the ladder match as well.
Yeah, the main event had an awful build up.
Had a great build. No, it had a very good build up, but it just smashed
the main event. No, it didn't. I thought it had an awful build up in terms of the fact that but everybody hated the main event. Everybody hated what was going to happen because everyone knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
They tried to do the whole Angle Austin versus McMahon angle in terms of Roman and Triple H.
Yeah.
So, but then just look I went onto Wikipedia and looked through the cards AJ versus Chris Jericho. AJ's first WrestleMania match, and he lost to Chris Jericho.
But that doesn't bother me so much, to be honest with you.
It kind of did.
It was a quality match.
Yeah. The Usos against the Dudley Boys, the Team Total Divas against Team Bad. Which, by the way, side note. Did you see the news on Friday night on Twitter?
About what?
Eva Marie finally announced that her contract at WWE was ripped up.
Oh no! Oh dear! Oh,
I know you heard about this. I know you really.
My God!
I know you.
We never got to see her wrestle.
Yeah, I know, Dave. It's okay. I'm sorry, but hopefully this trying time for you will end and you can get back to living your life.
Yeah, I think I'll be okay.
You can be my all red everything from now on instead. Okay.
That makes me feel so much better.
But yeah, looking in terms of the other Baron Corbin winning the Battle Royal, that's not a bad thing.
There were some good matches in this, but just the overall hype for the events was
the biggest WrestleMania ever, and it was just such a letdown. The street fight with Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose, that
was a really disappointing match.
That stupid Rock segment with the fire gun lighting up his name. The
biggest pop of the night was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
But the match beforehand, the League of Nations, was just awful.
Yeah, it wasn't
great. Okay, you get the pop for the New Day's entrance coming out of a big cereal bowl, or cereal box, but there was so much build up, and it was just a letdown by the end of it. It was just, it just felt flat, you know. And the end of it, with Roman holding the title up, and then just the boos and everything. It's just, it was just really, really poor. But what's your worst?
Well, I was going to... That's exactly it. I agree. That was 32 was my least favourite as well as Battleground. I can't think of two worse shows than that, off the top of my head, if I'm being honest with you. I will say from my favourite one, though, I think we can both agree WrestleMania 17.
Yes. Just that
Austin
finish.
Rock. Taker Triple H.
Yeah.
The Shane Vince match was pretty awesome, actually. That was a fantastic match. The TLC 2, excuse me. So many great matches. It was almost a perfect card. Speaking of almost perfect cards, the recent Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which is obviously only known for the mostly known for the 6-star match.
Yeah. I see your Dominion, or see your Wrestle Kingdom, and I raise you Dominion back in June.
That was you're right.
That was the 6.25 star match. and that was Rapogi Vice against Young Bucks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was there too on it?
Who was Naito against? Is that Robinson?
That was Tanahashi. That's when Tanahashi won the Intercontinental.
Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right, actually, yeah. God almighty, so many. This is this year as well.
Yeah.
But what else was there going back? Going back to WWE shows, like WrestleMania 31 for me is the best WrestleMania, bar 17, I've ever seen.
Yeah. Because,
again, and the strangest thing is, this was a WrestleMania that, like, not many people had too many high expectations for, especially, I think, going into the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match.
Yeah.
And had the best possible outcome in the end.
Yeah.
With Seth Rollins cashing in, which has never happened before.
And then, of course, earlier on in the night as well, Daniel Bryan winning the
Intercontinental title,
which everyone was happy about.
Ronda Rousey, and Stephanie.
Yeah, like that's the thing. That was the great thing about the start of WrestleMania 31. Daniel winning a belt coincided with the end of WrestleMania 30 when Daniel Bryan won the belt.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was a perfect start and end.
Yeah.
Also the curb stomp RKO.
Mm-hmm.
Which
oh my god, yeah, god,
Sting Triple H.
That was a fantastic match.
Yeah. And then having the NWO there and then
DX face to face.
Yeah.
Now, technically, it wasn't the best match, but it was just so exciting seeing DX and NWO in the flesh like that. Yeah. That's something we can both agree in the end. And I remember I was going home. That was the first Lobos party I ever went to. Seeing that show, I remember going home to my friends. God, I can't, like Shawn Michaels super kicking Sting, and both said to each other, "I bet in 10 years ago I would have never dreamed that." Yeah. And I was like, God, you're right. That would never ever happened 10 years ago, and now look at us. We're talking about something that actually happens.
Yeah,
it only happened a few years ago, but at the same time, not complaining. Like, you know.
Yeah. For my favourite, I picked one of my earliest memories of watching a WWE pay-per-view, and one that I remember the old days where if someone had, you knew someone had Sky Sports, you got them to tape it for you.
That's it. Yeah.
I remember having this tape and watching it over and over and over again. This is probably where I fell in love with Stone Cold Steve Austin,
which is
Royal Rumble 2001.
Royal Rumble 2001.
Royal Rumble 2001.
That was
Steve Austin
probably the best Royal Rumble match that there ever was.
Yeah. That was the first, and that was a hardcore one as well, because Steve Blackman was going in there with his nunchucks and Kane was just destroying everyone. That's the one where he held the record for the most eliminations for years.
At the time, it was 11 eliminations.
And then you had such great matches, like you had Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit in a ladder match.
It was a fantastic
for the
match.
Intercontinental title.
The Dudleys against Edge and Christian was a great match.
Yeah.
Triple H, Kurt Angle was a great match. They're all fantastic matches. The only bad point, the only sore point was China. I don't even know if that was a worked injury or not, but it didn't look good. So
it was the injury that they were playing off for weeks and weeks, that about her neck and stuff like that. But and then Stone Cold Steve Austin winning the Royal Rumble and leading in for WrestleMania 17 as well for that match against Rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on that note, there's one more show I just want to bring up: Survivor Series 2002.
Okay.
Now, this was the one where Shawn Michaels won the World Championship, only a second match in WWE after his back injury.
Was that the
first Elimination Chamber?
Yeah.
That just has a soft spot for me because of and it was Brock Lesnar's first loss when Paul Heyman turned on them.
Yeah.
That fantastic tag team match between Kurt Angle and Benoit, the Guerreros, and Edge and Rey Mysterio, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fantastic match. Almost all that. The Dudley Boys reuniting at the very start. And the other great matches, underrated matches, like Billy Kidman against Jamie Noble for the Cruiserweight title, Trish Stratus and Victoria having a women's hardcore match. It was actually a quality show for me, like, you know, so that has a soft spot for me. It's one of these ones where, like the Rumble 2001, you'd have to look back on and say. And I also got everyone else's responses. Again, thank you all very much for everyone responding. Peter McAllen, if I'm pronouncing that right, worst for me is easily Judgment Day 2004. Bad from start to finish. Best, I need to think about it a wee bit. I don't think he actually gave me an answer for the best one.
I don't think we got one. Yeah, I think he's still thinking.
Yeah, let me just check on that actually. But in the meantime, like I never. Which one was Judgment Day 2004? Now that was. Was that the one where? Let me think. Judgment Day 2004. Like, was that the Judgment Day? No, it was Bad Blood. I'm thinking of.
Let me have a look. I'm going to get it for you right now.
Benoit was champion by then, I presume, wasn't he?
No. Some of the matches included the main event was John Bradshaw Layfield defeating Eddie Guerrero by disqualification.
Okay. Oh, I know this one now. This was in
Undertaker defeating Booker T, John Cena defeating Rene Dupree.
I remember that card. Oh yeah, that wasn't that bad. No.
Torrie Wilson defeating Don Marie, Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio defeating the Dudley Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, seems like a pretty meh card, I'd say.
Maybe. Yeah, but it doesn't seem that bad, like, in my opinion. So, like, there you go. I'm just going to... we'll move on in the meantime. Lucy Farrell got on and said, worst has to be ECW's December to Dismember. That actually was a pretty awful one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the one where Bobby Lashley won the ECW title, like, but it was such a weird card, wasn't it?
It was. Very weird card, actually.
Yeah.
Can remind me of some of it, because I obviously purposely forgot about it just to save brain space.
Yeah, no, he actually didn't get. No, just looking at it now, he didn't give me a response in the end, Peter, over it. So, but no, I'll have a check now. He said best pay per view I've ever seen was WWE Vengeance 2007. Great matchups.
Yeah, Night of Champions they called that one.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, which included John Cena defeating Mick Foley, Bobby Lashley, Randy Orton, and King Booker in a 5-pack challenge for the WWE Championship. Also included Edge defeating Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. Deuce and Domino, when they were tag team champions, defeated Sergeant Slaughter and Jimmy Snuka. So there's a few ones. Johnny Nitro defeating CM Punk for the ECW Championship as well. So
I'm just looking at the Member Dismember one now at the moment. Bobby Lashley beat Big Show, Rob Van Dam, Hardcore Holly, CM Punk and Test to win the ECW title. Yeah. Kevin Thorne and Ariel defeated Mike Knox and Kelly Kelly in a tag match. Most of the matches here were like not even like 5 minutes. Wow. Like Daivari against Tommy Dreamer, Eliza Burke and Sylvester Tear K, if I'm pronouncing that right, against the FBI. Balls Mahoney against Matt Striker. It was a pretty awful one. I only seen bits of it now, but like that was a pretty awful one. Right?
Can I give an honourable mention to one? Because you gave one to Survivor Series. It's only because I rewatched it during the week and I forgot how passionate, how great the crowd was, and how good the pay per view was. One Night Stand 2005 ECW.
2005. That is a big call, actually.
It's a really good pay per view.
That's a huge call. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Indie style. That's as close as what WWE got to an indie style sort of pay per view. It was fantastic because you had the whole backdrop of the WWE superstars as well, boycotting it and showing up, and wanting to ruin it. And then it came to the big fight at the end. That's when JBL and Blue Meanie actually had their real life fight.
Oh yes, God, I actually saw that recently, and I saw how bloodied up he was afterwards. It was pretty nasty. All right, yeah. Let's move on. Natasha Murphy, thanks. I hope you're well, Natasha. Said I generally forget how good or bad the pay per view is when I watched the next one. However, WrestleMania 3 is always the best in my opinion. Although WrestleMania 20 was also a goodie as well. Now, Natasha, I know Natasha very well. She actually went. She claims she actually went to WrestleMania 3. Believe it or not, no joke. So that was the and that had one of the greatest moments of all time, in Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant. But then you have like matches like the legendary match between Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage, for example, or I think it was Alice Cooper escorting Jake the Snake Roberts, I think, like that. So matches like that, because the big match was going to be Andre and Hogan, but the match that caught everyone's imagination was that Intercontinental title match. So she's right there, and of course WrestleMania 20. Obviously the biggest highlights: Undertaker losing and Daniel Bryan winning the title. So
Undertaker losing? No, WrestleMania 20.
Sorry, WrestleMania 20. Excuse me, that was WrestleMania 30. My mistake. It was the
WrestleMania
Undertaker,
20 was Chris Benoit winning.
Yeah, that was a hell of a match.
And Cena won his first title as well, the US title.
Yeah, there was
against the Big Show.
Other highlights was there was Undertaker returning. There was a Goldberg Lesnar match. Actually, that wasn't great though.
No, that was when they were both leaving, and Stone Cold was the guest ref. Eddie Guerrero defended his WWE title against Kurt Angle. So some good matches there, and you'll always it's always remembered for the iconic
the thing at the end between Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. Absolutely, yeah.
By the way, I mentioned it to you before. A really, really good podcast is available there, Chris Jericho podcast.
Okay.
If people are aware of it, where you talk to Dave Meltzer. And there's too much talk, obviously, because it was the I think 10-year anniversary of Chris Benoit's unfortunate deaths and his family's unfortunate death. But instead of talking about the case and how the surrounding it and everything, they actually talked about his whole career from Japan to Canada to WWE,
which not many people have done.
No, and it's like obviously we'll never ever change our minds and sort of saying what happened was horrific. and what Chris Benoit did was
It was horrible.
It is irexcusable, and
You're
we'll never try and justify it, because you can never justify anything like this. But if you ever just need a break from all that and just want to hear about Chris Benoit the wrestler and how good he was, I'd recommend that podcast to listen to. It's about an hour and a half long, and it's a really, really good listen, and it gives you an insight into the sort of guy Chris Benoit was before all of this happened.
Exactly. So obviously, what they did was right in the sense they remembered him as the person and wrestler before all this happened. Because like again, you can only follow them of what led them to all that stuff in the end of the day. Darrell Patrick Christie got onto us and said, worst in my opinion is the Scutter known as Battleground 2017.
That's a fair call.
I know it's only recent, but because it's the only pay-per-view I watched that honestly made me feel like I'd rather have a bout of food poisoning rather than watching it. To be fair, I'm with you there, Devil.
Yeah.
It's the first match between Usos New Day was pretty good. Then after that, the pay-per-view stunk like Derby County in 2007-2008 Premier League. That's quite a nice analogy, actually.
I love that. I love that comparison.
That's a pretty awesome comparison. My best is WrestleMania 17, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
But honorable mentions would be Money in the Bank 2011. Actually, that's a good shout. Actually, WrestleMania 20, as you mentioned. Backlash 2004. That actually was pretty good. That was the follow-up, actually, when the second triple threat match, and it was the Orton Cactus Jack match as well. That was a pretty awesome match as well. No Way Out's 2004. What was that one?
I can't remember.
Yeah. I'll have a search of that. And both One Night Stands 2005 and 2006, as you mentioned earlier on.
2006 I didn't think was as good, because what they did was they incorporated WWE versus ECW sort of scenario into it, which I didn't like.
Oh no.
And that was more a WWE pay-per-view than it was an ECW one. That was more only wrestling, no ECW rules or anything like that.
I'm with you on that a bit, actually. Yeah. No Way Out 2004 was when Eddie Guerrero won the WWE title.
Yes, that is definitely memorable.
All right, yeah, it has that memories like that, it would break out straight away. But no, I'm with you. 2005, I think, was one of the greatest of all time in my opinion. Certainly there. Now, Niels Cleha from pronouncing that correctly. What he did, he gave us his best 10 and best 10 and best 10 worst and best 10 best, essentially. So
now, you just love the word best, don't you?
His 10 worst and his 10 best, essentially. Now, what Niels said, he went very old school. There's some pay-per-views going back to the late 80s, but I'll show you what he said. His worst 10 from 10 to 1, WCW Raw Wilds 2007, 97, excuse me, Uncensored 96, UWF Beach Brawl, Super Clash 3, Heroes of Wrestling 7, ECW Heatwave 97, WWF Wrestling Classic, Bunkhouse Stampede 4, Uncensored 95, and his worst was WrestleMania 9. WrestleMania 9 was when Yokozuna beat Bret Hart for the title and Hulk Hogan went straight away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one was in Vegas and everyone was wearing togas.
Oh, okay. Was that was the first outdoor one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It
was. That's actually not a bad shout, actually, if I'm honest with you. It was I think the way they presented that made it seem very weird.
Yeah.
But that was WWE being as gimmicky as they were back then. His best ones, actually, now, again, from 10 to 1, 8...
that was Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
With that weird bodysuit.
Yeah. Had hair in it and everything.
Yeah.
His best 10 was, again, from 10 to 1, AAA/IWC, When Worlds Collide, WrestleMania 3, ECW November to Remember 97, Great American Bash 92, Great American Bash 98, CWI Bodyguard vs. Bandits, Survivor Series 87, WrestleMania 4, Starrcade 89, and his number 1, ECW Barely Legal. That's a fantastic shout, actually. That was ECW's first ever pay-per-view.
Oh yeah,
that was I've seen that from start to finish. It was that had Taz against Sabu. It was one of the best matches I've ever seen. Terry Funk winning the ECW title against Raven. He won it from winning a triple threat match, or a three-way dance, I should say, against Stevie Richards and the Sandman. The Dudleys were the most hated team in wrestling back then. They lost the titles to, I don't know what the name of the team was. Perry Saturn was one of the guys involved.
Yeah.
It was a pretty awesome card. So yeah, good shouts from Niels there. Tommy Irvin said, again, going back to what we said, there's never been in history been a pay-per-view worse than ECW December to Remember, the WWE version of ECW.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about that.
Yeah,
already,
he's right.
So.
Kieran O'Reilly said the first One Night Stand pay-per-view was the best and the worst was WrestleMania 27 because I paid for it.
That was a pretty bad one. I remember I paid for that too. So Kieran, me and you were in the same boat, man. I remember it just being poo.
It was poo.
It was poo. For want of a better word, it was poo. I'm actually looking up the card and just seeing how bad it is.
Miz beat John Cena. Enough sense.
Yeah.
What else you got? You had Undertaker. The Undertaker Triple H match.
Yeah,
that was good.
That was the second Undertaker Triple H. No, that was the
first.
first.
No, the first one.
The second one was Hell in a Cell.
No, the first one was pretty good. Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler. God Almighty.
Yeah.
There's not much else after that. Like there's Edge against Roberto Del Rio. There's Great Khali winning a battle royale. There's Sheamus and Daniel Bryan went to a no contest for the US title.
Yeah.
There's not much actually. There isn't that much. There isn't a lot. There is standouts. Taker Triple H match was a good match, but other than that,
but you can't save a whole show with just one match.
Yeah, or it has to be a hell of a match to be there anyway. That's for sure. Let's move on. Michael Orman, a quick shout out to him from remember I told you about the podcast Preaching on Preacher. Like he's one of the guys involved. You can check them out. They're on iTunes and Mixcloud. They talk about films
also,
and TV.
I found out I work with his cousin.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I work with his cousin.
How about that? What's his cousin's
shout
name?
out to Kieran if he's listening.
Okay, cool. He said, I've particularly fond memories, particularly fond memories of In Your House Bad Bloods, the first Hell in a Cell match. I think I've watched daily on my home recorded video after school. Probably not suitable watching for a 12-year-old, but what the hell.
Here, I was 10 when I watched I was 10 when I was watching Royal Rumble 2001 with Stone Cold covered in blood, so it's okay.
Yeah, but this was the Hell in a Cell match, which was the first of its kind. Like, and that was a brutal match. Though he's right, he's right there for sure. It was around when I got back to watching WWE regularly and kind of cementing wrestling back to me again. I was also probably too young to truly too sweet, and the significance of the Brian Pillman announcements. Which I think was around the same time. I think he died, unfortunately. Now, his worst one actually is a very good reason why it's a worst one. On that note, worst, and probably not in the way you intended the question, was Over the Edge 1999, where Owen Hart passed away. Watching that live and having it be announced during the show was heartbreaking. I can only imagine how they finished out that event. That's a really good call, actually.
Yeah.
Not because it was a bad card, but because of
what happened.
That aura about the place. Not only for like I imagine it's bad enough watching it, but actually being there is probably a completely different story.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Did you ever hear about that in terms of that there is a recording of it?
Of him falling? I never want to see that.
No, they have it under lock and key in the vault in Stamford, Connecticut, saying to never be watched, duplicated, or destroyed.
Yeah, just leave it.
Yeah,
it's not worth even going near. Like, you know, it's such a horrible thing that happened. It was so unfortunate, and like, you know, and you always look back at Owen Hart, you think, God, he was one of the best wrestlers ever. He could have been WWE champion later on, like, you know, so or at least good enough to be anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a good point made about that. I think it was, I can't remember who made the point, but if Bret Hart or if Owen Hart was still around at the time when Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero and everything were coming into it, the matches he would have had with them
would be amazing. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. It's only horrible.
Because a year after that happened, they all signed for WWE.
Yes, the thing. Can you imagine the quality? Because he was one of the best wrestlers. Like, you know, when you think about all the matches like that all those guys like the Radical Bunch like came in and he had all these quality matches in WCW, and Owen Hart, you could say, was one of the few wrestlers in WWE at the time who could have that standard of a match. It would probably be him, Bret, and Shawn Michaels. Yeah. Like, in the rest were okay, but like nothing compared to them. Like, so yeah, good call, Michael, on that one. Like, bad for completely different reasons, but I totally get why you go for that. Let's move on. Michael Moore said he said his best are WCW Great American Bash 89, ECW Heatwave 98, Raw Rumble 2000 as opposed to 2001.
That was a good one. That was Madison Square Garden.
Cactus Jack Triple H. That was
I remember that.
Disgusting.
Taz made his debut.
Brutal match, yeah. Against
Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
The undefeated Kurt Angle at the time.
Yeah.
The obvious Royal Rumble match itself. One bad note on that whole thing, having to see who was it? Was it Mae Young?
Oh, no,
haven't seen Mae Young strip. Yeah.
Well, that was attitude back then. We had no choice. WWE, obviously WrestleMania 17, as we mentioned. He's mentioned a few Ring of Honor ones. Man Up and Final Battle 10. I can't say I know too much about those two pay-per-views. I imagine like it was around the same time Kevin Steen and El Generico were around, so, but who knows. Money in the Bank 2011, as we mentioned. TNA Destination X 2012 and New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 9, 10 and 11. All damn near perfect shows, he says.
Yeah.
He says his worst are WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania 4, Survivor Series 89, Starrcade 1991 and 94, Uncensored 95, King of the Ring 1999, which I thought was an interesting one. That's the one where Stone Cold and the McMahons had a ladder match, I think. So it didn't seem like they were that bad matches. I didn't watch the show, but I don't know for a fact. Obviously, Remember to Dismember and TNA Victory.
I think, can we class that officially now, because it gotten so many votes, as the worst pay-per-view ever?
Unanimously voted as the worst, as least favourite, so we can conclude on that for sure. And then TNA Victory Road 2009, 2011. I think one of those shows was the one where Jeff Hardy was stoned and the match was only like a minute.
I think it was 2011.
Yeah,
if I was to make a guess,
yeah. He also goes on to say, I've only gone for shows with no redeeming matches, so no WrestleMania 2 because they had the Dream Team versus the British Bulldogs, despite every other match sucking. He makes a great point here, where like if it's like he wouldn't go for a card which has a redeeming match. So for example, WrestleMania 3. Like, which I think was mentioned as a bad one. Like, they had matches like Hogan and Andre, and obviously Savage and Steamboat. He goes on to say WrestleMania 5 just about was saved by the amazing build-up and story of the main events, Hogan and Savage. Probably more wall-to-wall terrible shows between 1995-96 and 2005-2006, but I can't remember. I strongly considered One Night Stands 2005, but the Mysterio versus Psychosis and Eddie versus Benoit matches on it were just too dull for me. That's interesting that he mentions that, because again,
he makes a very good point, especially about the Benoit and Guerrero match. For matches that they've had together and we've seen them have, it was quite poor, that one.
Do you think though that type of match though was trying to be played down deliberately because of what they were trying to do with the rest of the card, especially with the main events, which had almost everything in it to it? Like, do you think they delivered? It was a type of match where they just did a job as opposed to just have a great match?
I think they did, yeah. Because
they're so professional. Like back then, although it was fortunately one of the last few months of Eddie's life, it was like both of them were experienced enough and had the wits enough to have that professional match. It was like Jericho and Owens at the recent WrestleMania, where they just did a job.
Even the finish. I remember the finish where Eddie was caught in the crossface and he just lay there with his hand out for a good 30 seconds to a minute, didn't move, didn't try and get to the ropes, just stayed there, didn't really sell as if he was in pain, just stayed there.
His character was very interesting in the match.
And then he just tapped. Yeah, he was like a brooding teenager. That's what he was in that. That's the way he was acting, sort of. It was just a very strange match in general. I think they were like, this is a once-off. You're the heel, you're the face for this. And I just think Eddie he thought this would work, and I don't think it obviously didn't. I
thought it was interesting. Like, I won't say it worked, but it definitely was interesting. Like, you know, so I'll give it credit.
Was that around the stage that he was playing heel, the whole Mysterio, I'm your poppy thing?
Yeah, I think so.
So
he still got a pop for it though. That's the thing. Like, you know, like, and it was that type of show where, like, you know, no.
Well, he was going to get pop
heel
anyway, just for his history.
That's it. Like, you know, if you're ECW, then they would have got a pop, even if you're the most powerful person in the world.
Hammerstein Ballroom.
Compared to the heat that Bischoff and JBL got for that, like, card, or Kurt Angle. Like, he wouldn't get, even though he should have been hated as hell. ECW still saved him. Simple as that. David Cullen also has got in touch as well. Like, now for those who don't know, me and Dave Cullen are having a rivalry at the moment in the Irish wrestling forum. Like, that'll soon be sorted out, hopefully, in the Fight Club. That's another story though. He goes on to say the best are WrestleMania 17, 19, 24, 28, 30 and 31. Now, what WrestleMania is there, Sander, that we haven't mentioned? So, 28 was the first Rock Cena match, wasn't it?
Yeah, 19.
No, it's the what? 19
was the first. It was
28. I mean,
no. In terms of what we haven't talked about, 19.
Oh, 19.
Yeah,
19. Well, let's see. There was that was Brock and Kurt Angle. That was Hogan and McMahon. That was actually a good match. The last match of Stone Cold Steve Austin against The Rock.
Yeah.
What else was there? There was Booker T and Triple H. That was actually a good match as well.
Yeah, the Brock Angle, like you said.
Jericho and Shawn Michaels, actually. That was a phenomenal match, actually. Yeah, there's some good calls there. Vengeance 2003, One Night Stand 2005 and 6. SummerSlam 2002, we never mentioned, actually. That's a good call.
Yeah.
That was Shawn Michaels' comeback match against Triple H.
Triple H, the unsanctioned match.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But there were so many great matches.
Talk about a mess. That was that the same one that Brock won his first title
as well
against The Rock?
It was, but there were so many other good matches as well. There was Kurt Angle against Rey Mysterio. There was Rob Van Dam against Chris Benoit. There was Edge against Eddie Guerrero. These are all phenomenal matches. That's a fantastic call. I didn't think
was
about
Hogan
one.
involved in that?
I don't think so. No, because before that, Brock Lesnar injured Hogan.
That's what it was. That's how he was involved in it. Yeah,
that's how he was involved in the storyline. Other than that, he said Royal Rumble 2001, 2001, 2002. 2002 is the one where Triple H won, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and it was Jericho and The Rock for the title, I think it was.
Which one, sorry, again, was that?
WrestleMania 2002. Sorry, Royal Rumble 2002, excuse me.
Royal Rumble 2002. Let me just double check.
WrestleMania for that was 18. He doesn't mention 18 on this, though.
Royal Rumble 2002. I'm going to get that for you here.
Other than that, he says Money in the Bank 2001.
Triple H won the Royal Rumble. Chris Jericho defeated The Rock for the title, the Undisputed Championship. Ric Flair defeated Vince McMahon in a street fight.
Oh, yeah.
William Regal against Edge. And Spike Dudley and Taz against the Dudley Boys.
Yeah, I remember that rivalry actually between Spike and Taz against the Dudleys. He also mentions obviously another. I think this is an anonymous one. Money in the Bank 2011, but I think that's mostly.
That's mostly for Punk.
Mostly for Punk.
That has to be for Punk. Yeah,
it's an interesting one.
I'd agree. It was fantastic.
I was talking to someone about this actually only this week, and you believe it or not, CM Punk got the biggest pop for that card. But you know what the second biggest pop was, and you'll never ever guess. Kelly
really
got the second biggest pop. I don't know where she's from, Chicago or not, but a friend of mine told me she was there for it.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking of all people to get the second best pop, obviously Cena's not going to get it. He's going to get booed out of the building. But yeah, there you go. He also mentions No Mercy 2001. Which one? No, what match was that? No Mercy 2001. TNA Destination X 2011, the Wrestle Kingdoms 9, 10 and 11, Starrcade 99, Super Brawl 9. I think that was Hogan and Sting in that one.
Yeah, No Mercy 2001 was Steve Austin defeated Kurt Angle and Rob Van Dam. This is when the Alliance was around.
Okay, this was the last. Oh yeah,
this is when the Alliance was around. So for the WWF Championship, Chris Jericho against The Rock for the WCW Championship, Booker T against The Undertaker. You got Dudley Boys against Big Show and Tajiri, Edge against Christian, got Test against Kane, the Hardy Boys against Lance Storm and the Hurricane, Billy Kidman against Scotty 2 Hotty.
It was good matches actually. That was when the Alliance story was really coming together. I think when it was coming together, that's when it was at its peak, you could argue anyway. So he also mentioned Super Brawl 9, which I believe was when Sting was against Hulk Hogan for the WCW title, and when Kevin Nash turned on the NWO, I think. Or no, it was around that time, I think. That was way later on actually, I think of it. No, because he won the tag titles against the Steiners. That was when Scott Steiner joined the NWO actually as well.
Oh, okay.
And one we actually never mentioned, Bash on the Beach 1996, when Hogan joined the NWO.
Oh yeah,
that's a pretty huge one actually.
That is a huge one.
Yeah. He also says worse, as we agreed. So Battlegrounds, the first couple of WrestleManias, and December 2006. So so it looks like we have a pretty much unanimous on on both scales. We can both safely say that Battleground and December to Dismember are some of the worst ones.
Some of the worst ones, yeah.
But the best ones we can say, a good few people said WrestleMania 17, One Night Stand 2005, Money in the Bank 2011, and some of the Wrestle Kingdoms as well. So we can, but some interesting ones we didn't spot. I didn't spot Bash on the Beach or SummerSlam 2002, or what else?
Even Money in the Bank 2011, that passed me.
Yeah. Like I'm just thinking, oh yeah, you just like there's ones like there's some people remember, like especially like the Bad Bloods one. That was a pretty significant as one as well. So there's pretty good ones there that we mentioned. Anyway, thank you all again for the responses. Again for the question. We will try and get another question up very soon. We don't know if we're going to do one for the next show just yet, but we'll confirm it on our Facebook page. But in the meantime, when we have one up, we'll check us out on facebook.com/The Kickout Wrestling and on Twitter at The Kickout Live.